All right, getting set up here. A little early. Figured I'd get it set up because Facebook sends a message out. We'll edit this part out, but just want to say hey. Just want to sit here and talk a little bit about this journey that we're on. We're all doing something different and trying to figure out what's going on. Oh, good. They're heading out to get something to eat, so I think I'm going to pass. That's how you do it. You know, real time. It's 9 o'clock. They're heading out to get a snack, and I'm on Facebook. So anyway, we'll get started, like I said, right at 9. Just wanted to just kind of, like I said, get time for people to get in, get settled, and we'll talk about what's going on. But, as we talk, what I plan on doing tonight is just kind of walking through my why. I think it's important. Our whys are very important as we go through this process. And I want to share with you mine and see if that kind of gets your brain thinking a little more differently, because I believe truly that is what got me to my goal, is never losing track and never losing focus of my why. So anyway, so it's, if I got a couple minutes, there was a couple, I put a link on Connect and on Facebook saying, get questions, let me know, and I would try and go through and answer them. So I want to get a couple of them. And so Morris L2 said, what made this time different? What made this time special? And I can tell you this is interesting, because when I started this particular time, it wasn't any different. And that was kind of scary in a sense. As you know, this was my 5th time attempting to lose weight with Weight Watchers. The first 4 times, I was very, by some extent, I was very successful. 30, 40 pounds. I could confidently rely on Weight Watchers for me to drop 30 or 40 pounds relatively quickly. I knew I could do that. I'd never been able to maintain it more than about a month after I got to that point. But I knew I could confidently count on that part. So when I started this 5th time, I started and we'll get into it in a second, but I started in a dire straits with, I needed to lose quite a bit of weight. So I started with Weight Watchers. This time, there was no difference at the beginning. What made this time different is, as I went through the process, as I really stuck with the program, as you know, I was extremely dedicated to, I never, whenever, or very rarely, I hate saying that word never, but very rarely, if ever, went over my daily points, rarely went over my weeklies. And I was just super motivated and focused, but I had a hard deadline that I had to meet. Somewhere in the middle, probably 30 to 40 pounds down, that's when the program got different for me. At about 40 pounds, I started feeling better, and I really tapped into that feeling, and I just kept going with it. So what made this time different was the fact that I didn't quit at 30, 40 pounds last, didn't quit at the complacency stage, which I think I've done every single time before. So the fact that I didn't quit got me to a whole different place, and that place is where the magic happened. So great question there. I got that. So the other thing I wrote down, Cuckoo 18 said, when did I start feeling like a thin person? I tell you, that was interesting because it changes daily. So some days I feel like a thin person. Some days I feel really not. At 200 pounds, I felt like a thin person. This morning, I weighed in at 175 and I felt like a thin person. So, feeling like a thin person really feels like, it's a feeling in your head, I guess. It's hard to describe. So, but again, there's days, my scale, if you follow me, my scale ranges. I hop on the scale every single morning. Anywhere from 172 up to about 183 is the range that I kind of float around in. At 183, I feel really big. It's really weird to say that because I know I'm not. But at 183, I can feel 183 pounds on me. So it feels different. So I feel like a thin person when I put on a pair of 31 jeans. I put on a medium shirt, medium t-shirt. I feel like a thin person. I feel like a thin person when I squeeze into a spot. I feel like a thin person when I sit like I am right now. Kind of hard to see, but I got my legs crossed and just comfortable. I feel like a thin person there. It really just kind of happened magically somewhere in the middle by that not quitting mentality. So that's kind of not a really great answer. I get it, but that's kind of where that focus is. And the last question, then we'll get into my why, is from 15 Seashells. She asked, meetings versus online. As a leader, as you know, I'm a Weight Watchers leader, but do I recommend meetings or versus online? And I got to tell you, I've seen some very, very successful people that do online only. I've seen some very successful people that do meetings. I've seen people who aren't successful do it online. I've seen people who aren't successful doing meetings. So I believe for me personally, the meetings helped me. I didn't have the personal integrity or the personal accountability to stick with the program long enough doing the online version. Online has some huge advantages, right? There's no set time. You weigh in when you need to. You check in when you need to. Connect probably is a game changer in the realm now. It wasn't around when I was doing the online stuff. But I needed 30 minutes of me time sitting in a room, quietly focusing on me and what I had going on in my head. If you ask anyone who was in my meeting early on, I don't talk in my meetings. I use that 30 minutes for me to just sit there in the back and or I sit in the front row, but sit there and just kind of focus on what I had going on. So I don't have a strong recommendation either way, whether you go meetings or whether you go online. What I would say is if you're doing one and it's working, stick with it. If you're doing one and it's not working, switch to the other, potentially. But you've got to play with your own journey. You've got to figure out what works best for you. Like I said, you can scroll through Connect easily and see that there are hundreds of people doing phenomenal work online only. So to say that you can't do it online is false. It's up here. You got to get your head in the game. And once your head in the game, I bet you I could probably switch to online now and do well because my head's right. But it's kind of hard to be a leader and be online. So I guess that's not going to happen, right? So anyway, so that's there. So what I want to talk about right now is I want to talk about my why. This is the actual crux to my success at this point. If I didn't tap into my why, which I believe, kind of to go back to my earlier question, I believe being able to tap into my why is the number one reason for my success. So I'll start a little bit. I've been in the military 24 years. 1997 was the first time I recall being overweight. I was been in the military at that point for probably 6 years. I don't know how old I was, 25, 26, somewhere in that ballpark. And I was in a unit up in Maine, and we had to transfer to a unit in New Hampshire. So our mission changed and the world changed, and we were transferring to New Hampshire. And I went through the recruiting office, and the recruiter looked at me and said, "You can't transfer to the new unit because you're overweight." And that caught me off guard because in my head, I was a thin person. In my head, I was still fit. I was still active, but I couldn't switch units. So here we are starting up a brand new unit. All of my friends were transferring to the new unit, and I was being left behind, and I was overweight by about, I'm saying maybe 10 pounds. The military doesn't mess around with weight. So I'm 10 pounds overweight. I can't transfer. So I quickly do whatever I need to do. I forget what it was, and I drop the 10 pounds. Boom, I transfer from the Maine Air Guard down into the New Hampshire Air Guard and continue on. No sooner than I get the weight off, it comes right back on. No question. I know without a doubt it came back on. I don't remember specifically. It was a while ago it came back on. So I deployed numerous times. Every time I deployed, the access to food is a little different, and there's nothing else to do but work out. So a deployment would come, I would drop some weight, and then come back. And so I kind of kept my weight in check, but not really. One thing led to another. I creep up to 210, creep up to 220. And I probably lived most of my military career between 220 and 240 pounds. That was enough where I could pass my PT test. Our PT test, they do a tape measurement, an abdominal circumference on your tape. So at that 240 pounds, so about 220, 230, again, I could pass that tape measurement. I could run my mile and a half. I could do my push-ups. I could do my sit-ups, and everything was going there. But everything was fine. So as long as you passed the PT test, the Air Force had this mindset, as long as you could pass the PT test, your weight didn't matter, your height didn't matter, you had to pass the test. I was always able to do that. So in essence, that allowed me to continue getting my weight up. Then there came a time in the middle of my career where I knew that I was going to be over the tape. Then what happened was the test is in early spring. So every January, I would find out I would start losing weight for about a month and a half before the test. I would do some running, drop a little bit of weight, take the test, and pass it. Well, one time in particular, I remember one of our guys come in the office. He's a chief, comes in and says to me, and I noticed he was looking good and looked thinner. And I said, how did you lose the weight, Chief? And he said, I went to Weight Watchers. And I remember very clearly, that was the first time I'd ever heard of Weight Watchers. And the first time I'd ever, I guess I'd heard of it, but it's the first time I'd ever seen anybody I knew had done the program. But what caught me off guard was he was my chief, and it was a guy. And so had he not done that, I don't know where I'd be today, because he proudly let me know that he did Weight Watchers and he reached lifetime and he was doing quite well. So I decided to go. I took out a meeting, and there was a couple folks in the office. We went together, a couple ladies and I, and so we would go to the meeting. We did quite well. I dropped 20 or 30 pounds, passed my PT test, and moved on. Again, every year comes up, PT test comes up. So I would pass my PT test, and I would go celebrate with food. I was a food celebrator. So it came a time I went into recruiting. I became a military recruiter. And so again, 230, 240 pounds. I would tell that exact same story to a kid who come in my office who was 195, 200 pounds. I would say, you can't join the military. You're overweight. The kid would look at me, and I'm sure they were extremely confused because here I am at 230, 240, whatever it was. And I would tell the kid at 190, you can't join. I tell you, that wears on your head for a little while when you're in such conflict where you're a hypocrite, right? You're telling this kid a story. And the reality is the Air Force didn't care once you got in as long as you could pass the PT test. And for the most part, I was able to do that. But it still messed with my head, and so part of my job is I would go into high schools. I would be a military recruiter hopping in the high schools. And I knew I looked terrible. I knew I was not a great representation of what the Air Force should or shouldn't be. And again, that continued to wear on me. So this has been, a good 15-year career of just kind of being miserable in a sense where I just couldn't wrestle with the idea of getting my weight under control. I ate terrible, a bag of chips and Doritos and Pepsi and you name it, M&Ms. Those were my go-to foods. Fried food, you name it, I would eat it, fried food. So a daily meal for me was sodas, chips, fried food. And I lived off of that for many, many years. It caught up to me. I get to the point where I remember one time specifically, I was overdue on my PT test, and the unit came in. My colonel called and said, "Hey, you're scheduled for a PT test," and I knew I wasn't going to pass it. And a great guy, and he, for lack of a better term, he said, "Why don't you go work on dropping a little bit of weight and don't answer your phone this weekend?" So I knew something was up, and I knew that if I got the phone call this weekend, it would probably be scheduled for a PT test. And so he kind of gave me the heads up, do not answer your phone. So I spent all weekend, went to the gym like 3 different times, 3 different yoga sessions, went to, I don't even know the name of it, a spa place and did a seaweed wrap. So here I am, 250 pound dude, walked into I don't know what they're called, those places. I'm sorry. But I did a seaweed wrap, trying to take an inch or two off of my stomach so that I could pass this dang PT test. So that weekend, I remember it very vividly. That weekend was absolutely miserable. I did, like I said, 2 or 3 sessions in the gym, did the seaweed wrap thing. Monday morning, went into the office, was scheduled for a PT test, passed the PT test by I don't even know, skin of my teeth, barely passed the tape, did my 1.5 mile run, and damn near died at the end of my 1.5 mile run, and passed the test. You would think that would be a wake-up call, right? But I have food issues. I have an addiction to food that I couldn't get under control. I had passed that test, and I went to lunch. I went to probably Buffalo Wild Wings, I'm sure is where I went. And I probably had the, 89-point, looking back on 89-point meal with, a dozen wings and French fries and 3 or 4 Cokes. And because that's how I celebrated passing my PT test. So I passed that test. A year later, I passed the test and continue on that path. And about 3 years ago, I failed my first PT test. It was not pretty. The Air Force does not really like that, and neither did I, of course. But I took complete ownership, absolutely. Even though I know I have food addictions, it was not the Air Force's fault. It was not the PT test fault. It was my fault. I had an inability to get my food under control. So I went out and to do my test, and they do your tape measurement. I failed that instantly, which was an automatic failure for the test. I went out and tried to do the run anyways. I couldn't run the 1.5 miles. I couldn't even complete a 1.5 mile run, let alone in the time prescribed. Push-ups and sit-ups, I probably did okay, but it was just absolutely embarrassing. I came back into the office and had to meet with the general, and the general looks at me and says, "What's going on, Mike?" And I said, "Yes, sir. I know it's all my fault. I didn't prepare properly, and I let you down." And went through that whole process. And he said, "Yep, well, you got to retest in 6 months." "Yes, sir. I know that. I'm very aware of that." And so I back into Weight Watchers. One of the 5 times that I joined, I went into Weight Watchers, and so I walked in the meeting and started losing weight and lost 30 pounds or whatever the number was. I don't have the exact data. And in 6 months, I retook the test and I passed it because I had lost a little bit of weight. A year or the 6 months after that, the very next test, I failed again. Same thing. Because after that test, I went and celebrated. So this time it was more significant. So I failed the test miserably. And then the window says you have to retest in 6 months. The member has to initiate the test. So the member says at the 6 month window, I'm ready to retest. I'd like to go ahead and get this test done. And the 6 month window comes up and I'm not ready to take the test. So I don't tell anybody about it. So 6 months goes by. Another 6 months go by. So now we're a year. I'm 6 months overdue on a failed PT test. I'm a year and a half overdue. I'm 2 years overdue on a PT test. So it's really wearing on you. When you're 2 years overdue on a PT test, at any moment, I knew someone could walk in my office and say it's time to test, and I knew I would not be able to pass the test. And so not only would I be two years overdue, I would be, it would just be sure disaster. But I wanted to test, right? And I really wanted to get my weight under control. And during that 2 year window, I was an online member in Weight Watchers. I paid for the app for 2 full years. And every 3 or 4 weeks, I'd log into the app and I'd track probably a meal or two. And then I would lose the motivation to continue on. So it was really conflicting because more than anything, I wanted to pass this dang PT test. I just didn't have enough energy, stamina, motivation, whatever you call it, focus to get this thing done. So it brings us to January of 2016. So January of 2016, I know that, the unit's going to test in May. And I'm like, this will be my one opportunity to wipe this slate clean. If I can test with the unit in May, no one, even though I'm 2.5 years overdue at this point, all will probably be forgiven if I can pass the test. So I go and I take the test. I go in January and I start in 5 a.m., right? I go to the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I'm thinking I'm going to run, work and get my stamina up. So just about every single morning in January, I go to the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning. I go on the treadmill for an hour. All I did was walk. I didn't do anything significant but walk because I couldn't move. I could not run a mile and a half. No exaggeration, could not run a mile and a half. So walking for an hour is all I did. I think I walked at like 2.5 miles an hour on the treadmill. It was incredibly painful. So I did that for an hour just about every single morning in January. Did that for an hour just about every single morning in February. And March 1st comes and I don't weigh any less. So now here we are, March 1st. The test is going to be in May. I have 2 months. 2 months to pass the test that I'm 2.5 years overdue on. It's it got to me, right? And in a sense where I didn't even think, I am, happily married, got a beautiful family, got a beautiful wife. I'm about to lose everything I have because I can't get my weight under control. So I have 2 months to lose, in essence, probably 40 pounds or so, which is absolutely, the stupidest thing I've ever admitted to doing. Crazy thoughts go through your head at that point, right? And so I'm thinking, hey, what if on the way to work, what if I kind of just hit a car on the highway or something? I don't want to get hurt. That's kind of silly. But if I could get in a car accident, then I would be exempt, right? And they're not going to make me take a PT test if you just got in a car accident. And, foolish stuff like that goes through my head. And I'm like, I know I'm not going to do that. That's absolutely ludicrous. I got to work, and I'd walk up the stairs and I'd think things like, well, what if I fell down the stairs? Because if I fell down the stairs, same thing. No one in their right mind is going to look at a guy who just fell down a flight of stairs and make him take a PT test. So I realized really crazily that I got some really crazy thoughts going through my head. And luckily I flushed them all out and I was able to persevere. But so on March 1st, I joined Weight Watchers online again, or I opened my app back up because I was already still a paying member. So I open the app, I hop on the scale upstairs, 263 pounds. I know that in order for me to pass the tape, I need to be close to 220 pounds in that ballpark. So March 1st, I open the app, I track the meal for the day. March 2nd, I think I tracked a half a meal. March 3rd, I didn't track. March 4th, I didn't track. And I started recognizing this same pattern. So I have this deadline. I know what I got to do. I have all the tools. I didn't have the accountability to do it. At some point during this process, I sent an email to a lot of my closest friends and said, guys, I'm in trouble. I really am. And I said, I need some help. Here's where I'm at. And I got a lot of good friends, but they don't know how to deal with this scenario. So I didn't get the response that I thought I would get. I had a single wingman who honestly took care of me more than anybody in the world. And I owe him a debt of gratitude. But I think I sent this email to probably 30 people, and it was just a pouring of my heart saying, hey, help me. And I got one response. I got a couple responses. I got one legitimate response, and the other responses were, hey, let me know what you need, eat less, work out more. If you want to go to the gym, I'll meet you at the gym, and maybe you should bring a lunch and that type of stuff. So, but as we know, that's not it. Right. We know it has nothing or very little to do with those things. It's mental. So I had one guy that he took real good care of me, and he emailed me every single morning from out of state and sent me an email saying, good morning. It's a great morning. Go get it. And every morning I got an email from him at very, very early in the morning, and just kind of kept me focused. And like I said, I owe him a ton. So anyway, so here we are. We're in the first week in March. And so I know I'm in dire straits. I tried the app online. Again, I tracked for a day and a half. Didn't work because I couldn't keep the mental stamina going. So March 8th, I walked back into the meeting. I tell everyone this. That's, it's the worst day. The day that you walk into a Weight Watchers meeting is, for me, it's you're at an all-time low, right? I mean, you hate everything about you, with the exception. The only thing you like is the fact that you had the willpower to walk in. Outside of that, it's just painful. So I walk in March 8th. The receptionist was there. The leader was there, both extremely welcoming. And I did hey, I got this, right? I don't need to sit for the meeting, in a sense. I just need to sit quietly, and I don't want to talk to anybody. So the meeting ends, and the leader says something to the effect of, if you're new, stick around, go over the program changes. I had no idea what Smart Points were. I was on a Points Plus up to that point. And so she starts to go over the new program, and I say, nope, I'm good. I know how it works. I got it. And I walked out. So that's when I say it started very similar to every other journey. And so I committed at that point. In my head, I committed to, no matter what, I'm going to go to this meeting for an entire year. And I remember saying that very clearly. I remember that being my only focus. As I said, I'm done playing this game. I'm done playing this 24-year yo-yo of losing weight, 30 pounds a year in 2 months. It's just absolutely stupid. So I declared, I'm going to be here. And, the leader at one of the meetings, she asked, what's your goal? And I said, my goal is to be in this chair a year from now. If I'm in this chair a year from now, then I know everything's going to be okay. So I tell her at that first meeting, I don't need the tools. I don't need the program. I just, whatever. And so a week later, I go into the meeting. That first week, I tracked really well. I tracked everything. I think if you look online, it's, I think I was down 6 pounds my first meeting. So, but, I'm not exaggerating when I say I tracked everything. I'm not exaggerating when I say, I didn't go over my dailies, and if I did, you pulled into my weeklies and I didn't go over my weeklies. I tracked every single thing from March to September. The only exception was when I went up to Boston in July. I paused for those 3 days while we were in Boston, and there may have been 1 or 2 other days where I just kind of fell off the wagon, but instantly got right back on. But for that time period, I was 100% in. So I started having the success that I knew I had, right? I knew the program worked. I had complete confidence in the program. I knew I could drop 30, 40 pounds pretty easily. And that's what I needed to do. So I knew I had this time frame. So I tracked and I tracked and I tracked and I tracked. I continued going to the gym in the morning, but all I was doing was walking. And so now we're coming up on March, mid-March, April. My test is somewhere, has to be before May 31st. I can declare the date. I can pick the date essentially, but I had to test in May. So it comes up on, we for Memorial Day every year, we go down to a golf tournament. And we go down for this event, and I had to make the decision: do I skip the event? Do I go to the event? Do I test before the event, or do I test when I get back? Well, I knew if I was going to go play golf for 4 days in Tulsa, that I did not want to take a PT test when I got back. I knew that I would fall off the plan, go off the wagon. Those 4 days would kill me, and I'd come back and I would be over. So again, super hyper focused. Before we went to this event, I took the PT test. I passed it. It was a marginal score, nothing fantastic, but I passed it and got the monkey off my back of having to get this test done. However, what I knew is his history has proven to me that if I didn't change my head right at this moment, that I'm going to come back. So I remember that morning before I took the test, my wife got up and packed me a lunch like she did most mornings, because she's super awesome. And so she packed me a lunch. I went and took my PT test, got a marginal score, came back into my office, and I remember sitting at my desk eating a turkey sandwich with an apple. And I remember right then thinking, well, this is different. Something is different. And I couldn't put my finger on it, but I didn't go celebrate with food. So a couple days later, we go down to the golf event down in Tulsa. We get there, and this golf event is a beautiful event. It's a pro-am. You play with a tour pro. I ended up playing with the kicker from the Cowboys, Dan Bailey, and playing with another guy. It was kind of a fun event. But when we got to the hotel, the first thing I said was, do you mind if we head over to Walmart and get some fruit, some breads, and some sandwich and some lunch meat? And I'm going to take my lunch to the course because I don't want to be in this scenario ever again. I want to be done. So we did. So we went to Walmart, got some groceries, and so I'm at a couple day golf event, and I brought my lunch to the golf course. That continued to reinforce to me that something was different, and I was on the right path. So that was May. Test is done. So May, June comes, July comes. We head into Boston, meet up with some great guys there and gals. And I remember relatively distinctly being around 200 pounds. And I remember that was in essence, the lowest I'd ever been in 15, 20 years or so. Sitting with that group of people, sitting with folks who really, truly understand the struggle we go to. I'd never had that in my 24 years. Sitting with them in the hotel room and sitting at dinner and talking about the struggles we go through, it really enabled me and allowed me to sit there and go, yeah, this is different. I have some support that I never knew I had. And we're all the same in a lot of ways. A lot of those crazy thoughts that I had going in my head that I just shared with you, other people had, and that was weird to me because I just thought it was just my mental mess. So being there, I said this more than once. Being there was a complete game changer. So we had a great time spending with them. Ate way too much, but still relatively well. I mean, I had a couple incidents with the minibar that was kind of a mess. And it cost me like probably $50 in the minibar, jokingly. But it was a good trip in that regard because I learned when I ate that weekend, I didn't feel good. It messed with my stomach, and that was the first time my stomach had been upset in many months. And I was quickly able to attribute that to overeating and eating incorrectly, which I thought was super. So I'm 195-ish pounds, whatever. I feel good. I feel like I'm done, in a sense, losing weight, but I know I want to stick with it for life. But I didn't ever, for a million years, think that 175 was a possibility. Maybe 189 at the most. So I said, well, maybe I'll lose another 10 pounds. So I go through this process. I come home from Boston, meet with one of my leaders. I had 2 leaders locally. I meet with one of my other leaders, and she just talks to me about, no, just keep going. Just do 5 more. Do 5 more. You want to be in a healthy BMI range. And I said, okay, I will be in that range. And so I just kept going. I kept going with that same mantra as I'm going to sit in this chair a year from now. I'm going to track every day. I'm going to do my best. And slowly pushed on and reached goal. Yeah. And so when I hit my goal weight, and this is why I share the story, because that instantly took more pressure off me than anything I've ever done. For the first time in 20 some years, I said, wow, I don't want to lose weight. Think about that, right? When's the last time you were able to say that? For me, it was never. Since at least 1997, I've struggled with wanting at some point, wanting to lose weight. So when I hopped on that scale and I made goal, it was the most amazing feeling. I got in my car to drive home after, and I broke down pretty good because it was something that I set out to do, not knowing what the end would look like, but just trusting the process and trusting the leader that got me there. And I thank her almost daily. But it was such a freeing moment in my head that it completely changed my life. So that affirms to me that, I'm never going back, because I recognize that inner feeling. Not to get deep into, but for me, I crossed this finish line of a weight loss journey. And that was powerful for me to say that. I had to check that off of my list of things that I needed to do. I had to declare victory. I had to say I'm done with that piece of it. So I did. And I instantly said, I want to be a leader, because I want to, selfishly, I posted this the other day, selfishly, I said, I want to be a leader because I need that continued accountability. I don't trust myself still. So I said, I want to be a leader. So now that journey starts over, right? It's a whole new journey now. It's a journey of maintenance. Maintenance is an incredible journey all in itself. I'm having so much fun on maintenance. And this, like I said, I weighed in this morning at 175. So, I'm having a lot of fun, and I have so much more self-control because I can tap into these feelings. So that's a long, crazy story, but here's what I want to share with you. And here's why that is important. I trusted the process. I trusted the plan. I trusted the people that got me there. Had I stopped in the middle at 198, 199, somewhere in that ballpark, I'm confident I'd be 270, 280 right now. I know I would be. So the goal of, I say it all the time, setting attendance goals, not performance goals. I just want to be engaged in the process. So by the fact that I was able to do that, it just continued to carry me on. And so what I want you to do is I want you to recognize this in your own sense. Like I said, the day we walk into the Weight Watchers meeting, or the day we sign up online, however you do it, it's generally one of the worst days self-esteem wise. 10, 15 pounds goes by, you start feeling really good. Your clothes start fitting better. And so all those interesting things that go through your heads, they kind of go away. They go away quickly. Your self-esteem improves quickly when you lose 15, 20 pounds. It really does. But I had 90 some pounds to lose. So I was nowhere near where I needed to be. But mentally I'm fighting with hey, you're good enough. It's good enough. You feel better. You're looking good. So what I encourage you to do is tap into that why and write it down. Because when you lose every 5 pounds, every 10 pounds, you need to read that. You need to read. If you can't remember vividly, you need to read it. Because when you get to 17 pounds, 20 pounds, 25 pounds, you feel good. You go back and you read that story and you're like, no, I need to push on. I just need to push on. And so that push is where you get to, in my case, something I never thought was possible was just a healthy BMI. And, it's not for everybody. We've talked about that a million times, but I believe firmly it's most of us, and so, but I didn't at first, years ago, I never would have said I agreed to it. But now I believe that most of us have the ability to get there. And so, but I got there because I didn't quit. So tap into your why, because that's very important. The other thing is critical, and is you've got to take photos, right? You've got to take before photos. Take one right now when we get off this call. Your phone has a self timer. Take it by yourself. Put the phone on the wall. Take a picture. Don't show anybody. Don't share. You don't need to do that. That's irrelevant. But your mirror cannot show you a 15-pound loss. It doesn't have the ability. Between your eyes and your mirror, you can't see 15-pound difference. A photo is different. You can see it in a photo. If you put a photo, before and after photo of 15 pounds, you can almost always see the difference. But the mirror doesn't do that, because for you've been shaving in that mirror, and hopefully not you guys, the guys have been, but you've been putting on makeup in that mirror. You're blinded in a sense of what the true reality is. So So at 15 pounds, you have the same mirror, the same everything. Everything looks the same. So take that photo and then compare them off. And at some point, you're going to want to go digging for those photos and you're going to want to share them. So that's what I would say. So, and I share all that is for no reason. If you notice, one of the things that I openly and honestly share, because I think it's very critical that without the support that I got from Connect, from the wingman on there, and a couple key people in my life, family number one, but a couple key friends, I wouldn't be here right now in this size. I'm confident I'd be pushing 300. So it just, you got to find that support network, and you've got to just press through. So that's kind of my why, and I'm never going to forget that. And I want to do this video tonight because I want to document it, and I want to keep track of it. But so with that, I'm going to I'll grab onto the phone. I'm going to kind of scroll through. I see a couple of comments popping in, and I'll kind of read through those, and then because they're here, that took 35 minutes to do that. So we'll hang out for another 20 minutes or so. So I'll scroll back to the beginning of the feed. I'll look at your comments and I'll kind of answer through, and then but go ahead and type in anything you want, and we'll kind of answer them. So thanks for being here, nonetheless, even if you don't have a comment. But leave you with this before we get into the comments. This journey is absolutely doable. Absolutely doable. I'm 100% confident that every single person can do this, without a doubt. You have to want it. You have to trust it. You have to have the right support. I think you have all that, and I want to be there for you as well. But it's without a doubt, this is absolutely doable. So take control and go do it. There's nothing better than hitting goal. Nothing. Not a thing. So go get your goal weight. All right, let me go all the way back to the beginning here. Scroll. Wow, there's a lot of you. So thanks. So Sandy, hello. Thanks. Good to see you. Glamoury. Hey, Jeff. How are you, Jeff? Good to see Jeff here. Chris, hello. You're welcome. Very welcome for all the stuff I do for Weight Watchers. You guys are my family. I love it. Terry, hello. Good evening. Michelle, good evening. Thank you for the happy anniversary. Yeah, so March 8th was 1 year for me. Yep. Meetings are key, but again, meetings are not for everybody, as you saw at the beginning. So, but I agree. You can learn. So Jeff said you can learn something new every week. So that is true. So, Angie from Kentucky, good to see you there. Cece says she's been online for a year, lost 70 pounds, 20 to go. Weight loss has slowed down. So just joined meetings last week. Perfect. Keep up, because it gets better at the end for sure. Michelle said that's her story. That's kind of neat. So Natia. So no, I haven't always done meetings. As I just kind of discussed, I've done meetings is the only time I've ever been any successful. I've never been successful with online only. Online only for me lasted maybe a week and a half at the most. So that week and a half, I could lose 5 or 6 pounds, but I could never stick with an online only for more than a week or two at the most. Christy's here. Hey, Christy, how are you? Susan, thank you very much. Ariel, hope that it wasn't trying to be inspiring. It was just trying to kind of share. So I'm glad you found it inspiring. That's very cool. Robin, good night. Thanks for being here. Natalie says, after 3 years of paying the whole time and still leaving and gaining and coming back, well, thanks. She said, the true difference is hearing people like me and to know it's possible. And that is the absolute truth. It's possible. Vicky, you're welcome. Thank you for being here. Kathy, thank you. You're welcome as well. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. All kinds of things. It's very cool. So Catherine's asking, how do you stop this downslide of the slippery slope failing so many times? I wish I had the answer for you, Catherine, because if I knew it, I would have done it back in 97, right? So I think honestly, it's what I talked about. It's that why. It's write it down. And I stress this, and I'm not exaggerating. Write it down and read it, because if you're not strong enough to remember it, which takes a lot of mental power, set a goal to read it every 5 pounds and or every month. So, if we're not getting 5 pounds a month, then you read it, or every 2 weeks, or whatever time frame you need to put. But you need to put a reminder in your phone. Read my story. Read my why. Read my why. and do it at a weight increment and a time increment, both. Because you join Weight Watchers for a reason. Every single person that joins, they don't just join because there's nothing else going on, you know. You want to do ballroom dancing, or do you want to do Weight Watchers? Oh, let's do Weight Watchers. No, that's not how it works, right? So when you walk into the Weight Watchers meeting, you join for a reason. The reason never goes away until you solve it. So if you quit, the reason doesn't go away. It just kind of gets suppressed. If you lose 10 or 15 pounds and feel complacent, the reason still didn't really go away. The reason only goes away when you hit your goal weight. Positive of that. So how you stop the slippery slope is by remembering why you joined and making the declaration that I'm going to get to goal and getting to goal. And that's that kind of answer there. So, Phil, I didn't, I hate this question in a sense with, not from you, but, I get asked a lot, how did you handle the plateau? If you look at my weight charts, they're all published online. I never had a plateau. So from March 8th to September 20th, it was 91 pounds, 87-ish, depending on which scales you use. But there was 3 gains during that time period. It was Labor Day. It was my daughter's birthday, I think, was another one. And then I think 4th of July weekend. Something or other. There's some key dates as to the 3 times that I gained. And so I never hit a plateau. And so, so I don't have that experience to tell you how to avoid or how to bust through a plateau. But the thing about plateaus is there's only 2 ways to break them, right? That you can gain weight or you can lose weight. So if you're on a plateau and you're riding it, continue riding it because you want it to go down and just continue, go back to the basics, track and do what you need to do and get through it. But if you give up, you're going to gain. It's positive of that. So know that a plateau is practice for maintenance. I guess I've been on a plateau for 6 months now, right? Because for 6 months, I haven't gained or lost any weight. I've kind of had a 5-pound range. So cool. Hope that helps, Phil. But you got this, man. You can do it. I'm positive of that. Michelle, you're very welcome. I didn't, Michelle, I didn't trust myself in the beginning. I do now, but in the beginning I didn't because it's hard to trust someone who's failed you 4 other times in 24 years. So I trusted the process. I trusted that. I didn't trust my ability to get it done initially. Somewhere in the middle I did. And that's when it finally kicked in, and that's when the game changed. But it took a long time for me to get to that point. So, but now I have complete trust in me, and so now I say it cockily or confidently, whichever term you want to use. But I'm not going back. The clothes I buy now. I joked with Vito came to town the other day. I joked I was wearing a pair of jeans that I paid stupid money for. I mean, stupid money. And I said, I'm not buying a $10 pair of jeans. These things are, it's a mortgage payment for these pair of jeans or whatever, and not that bad, but I'm not going to outgrow them, so I like them. They look good. They fit good. I got a lot of money invested in a pair of jeans. I'm not going to outgrow them. So that's kind of, but I'm confident that I'm not going to do that. So it's good. So cool. Hello, Nikki. Good to see you. Terry says, yep. So Terry, rough days are great because rough days start over. It's, they're not fun. They're actually painful and miserable, but go to bed, if you need to, or do what you got to do. But when you wake up in the morning, you have the option. You can wake up in a good mood or a bad mood. You can make it a good day or a bad day. And if you focus on all the positive things that's going on, it quickly turns the day around. So that's how I would say if you've had a rough day, then go to bed, put that day over. And when you wake up in the morning, there was a period of time when I had a sharp or a dry erase marker, and I would write on my bathroom mirror all the things that I was thankful for. So what that does is it gets your brain in the habit of looking for them. There you go. Get your brain in the habit of looking for them. So if you write down and you take an inventory of all the things, little things like, hey, I have a roof over my head. I have electricity. We have power. We have internet. I joke, my house is big enough. I need 2 wireless routers. That's crazy stuff. That doesn't happen everywhere. So you write that down, but it's stuff we take for granted. So when you have all that stuff written down, you focus on it a little more. You start being more aware of it, and it propels you to kind of want to just make the day a good day. Yeah. So Angie, that's one of my favorite comments. At 200 pounds, I thought I looked great. I thought I looked really good. And the term I use is I was just a smaller version of my fat self. So when I look at pictures now of me in Boston at 200 pounds, I don't like them at all. I hate them. I look huge, and that was at the time. I remember thinking, man, I look great. I was posing for every single picture possible back then because I thought I looked good, and I looked good. I looked good compared to the 264 pound dude. I didn't look good compared to the 175 pound guy. So yeah, I was just a smaller version of my fat self. Now I'm not. You can call me a lot of things. You can call me obnoxious. You can call me stupid. You can call me skinny. You can call me conceited. You can, whatever all those terms are, pompous, all that. Because you can call me all that. You can't call me fat. You can, but you'd be wrong. Everything else, you could probably be right. You could probably, it's an opinion. You could make a case for it, and someone else could agree with you. There's no one that's going to look at me right now and say, agree with you when you say the guy's fat. I've solved that. That part's done. I'll work on the rest of me later, but that's that piece is over. That journey is closed. So, Georgine, thank you. Yep. Yeah. So you're right. That's my number one. When you're out of points, quit eating points. Period. Easier said than done. I totally get that. I'm not even at all pretending that that's easy, but it's critical. I get frustrated when I see, and I've had negative trackers, so don't take this the wrong way, right? My tracker at times have had negative numbers in it, but man, when once you hit that first negative number, alarm bells should be going off, right? And so, if you're tracking honestly and you're tracking as you're eating and tracking real time, that first time you see that negative number, alarm bell should go off. And, if it's 6 o'clock at night, go to bed. Put a pause on it, and because you're not going to die skipping one meal, or if you need to for the night, it's not recommended. And switch to fruit and switch to salad if you need to. But extreme worst case scenario, put it to bed and be done with it. So that's the key to the plan: is when you're out of points, quit eating points. It's treat it like a bank account. If you're out of money, you can't go negative in your bank account. It doesn't work. So. Because it's an arbitrary number, and it's just, if you physically had to buy your food with points, you could be successful in this program, right? If every time you went to eat, you had to pull out, you had 40 points in your pocket. And when you went to Burger King, you had to give the cashier 10 of those points and pay for it. If you had to do that, you absolutely would make this thing work, because at some point you'd be out of points, right? And you would be, I don't have any more. I can't eat. And that would, if you treat points as currency, which is kind of what I did, you're going to be okay. So when you're out of points, stop eating points. Pamela, you're very welcome. Yep. So I got a meeting in the morning. I can't wait to a whole new group. The group I'm subbing for a couple weeks down in southern Indiana. So it's going to be kind of fun. I'm looking forward to that. So you're halfway there. Yep. Very good. I can't see your entire comment. I'll try and get to it in a second. Yep. Same thing, Amy. When you're out of points, quit eating points. Yep. So your reason does go away, but I think it might change to a clearer focus over time. Paula, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. For me, it didn't. My reason was the same. And so my reason was as I was embarrassed to be in my uniform. I was embarrassed to represent the Air Force as a recruiter. I was tired of being overweight. I had a pair of pants that was probably 3 sizes too small that I would try and fit into to work. There was times I couldn't even wear my belt to work because my belt didn't fit. All that was just, it made me miserable. I wanted to not ever do that again. So maybe it got clearer in a sense where I recognized it more, I guess, but it's always been there. It's been there for 20 some years, and it's gone, completely gone. How cool is that, huh? Completely gone. Stacy, thank you very much. Good to see you here. Davida, rough week, rough last few months, but your yearbook is done. Blue dots for 6 days. That's great. Weigh in the morning, aiming to be back on track with pre-Christmas weight. Don't do that, right? So easier said than done. Again, that's my favorite term. Easier said than done. Don't focus on the number. Set your attendance goal. Say you want to continue in this meeting. I want to track every day for 4 months. I want to be in the chair for 4 months. But we have no control over the actual scale, right? If you had dinner or you drank too much water the minute before you weighed in, the scale's not going to agree the way you think it's going to. The trend line will go down. So follow the plan, trust me that I'm telling you that the plan works, track everything, stop when you're out of points, get some fit points in there. I would love to, and I'm not really saying this, but I would love to design a program where you don't ever weigh in. But the accountability is, you pay based on how many blue dots you get or something along those lines, right? It's kind of, I'm talking out loud as I think this, but it's not truly about the number on the scale. Now, sure, we want the scale to go down. We have to keep our eye on that, but the plan works so well that, I was motivated by seeing the number go down. So that kind of helped me a little bit, but how cool would it be if we had a plan where you never ever weighed in, but you had to have some other accountability measure. And the accountability measure would be if you don't have blue dots, you pay triple. If you went negative, you pay quadruple or something like that. Obviously that's kind of silly, but to not worry about an actual number that you want to be, and just worry on trying to get, following the plan properly is how you're going to win. So, yeah. So Terry, I've done the same thing. And so when you realize, have you ever taken a stress management class, right? So there's all kinds of stress management tips and tricks and how to handle stress and how to deal with stress. I've yet to read a one that says go eat. I just haven't. There's all kinds of things out there, but none of them say, I've never been to one class where they say, man, if you're really stressed, McDonald's is the answer. No, it's use some time management, delegate, focus on your problems, write them all down, make a to-do list, right? All that stuff. Nowhere on the list does say go eat. So that when we change our mindset and we don't turn to food for stress, we're following some better techniques for stress management. But that's when, we start winning the game. So very cool. Ginger, thanks for that. You're awesome as well because you're here. So, yep. So Sharon, convert the points to money. Yeah, you heard that. Great idea. I don't know if Patsy's still in Plainfield. So I don't know her. But I'm in Plainfield on Thursday nights, 5:30. Thursday nights, 5:30. I'm there. All right, cool. Well, I made it down to the bottom, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I'll put it on Facebook. I'll put it on YouTube so that if you don't have access to it or you want to rewatch it, it'll be there. It'll be on the website. But really, really glad you're here. Really glad you're my wingman in this journey. And I'm telling you, I want to be here for you. I want to. Nothing makes me happier than when I get a handful of emails a day, text messages a day, whatever, and people are proud to tell me how well they're doing, and I'm proud to read it. I get choked up on some of the emails I get. It's kind of fun, and the reason it's so fun is because, without a doubt, I know what you're trying to do is possible. I believe that. I believe you can do it. I believe you have the ability to do this because, and why do I believe that? Because I'm nothing. I am not the superhero. I didn't do anything spectacular. I just followed the program as it was designed. I didn't modify it. I didn't go into a different version of it, and I just followed it. It took some discipline, sure. It took some willpower, it took some focus, but I didn't do anything crazy. So, if I would have said, yeah, well, I did this and, whatever, something ludicrous, then yeah, I'd say not everyone can do this, but I assure you everything I did, you have the ability to do. And, so tap in your mind and, my latest term that I'm using now is this isn't about luck, right? No one ever says, how'd you lose the weight? Oh, I got really lucky and lost 91 pounds. That's no, I worked my tail off. I focused. I stayed mentally in the game. So I don't wish you good luck on this journey at all. Because I don't want you to have luck. I want you to have focus. I want you to be so focused that you win, that you join me at goal. You join me at Lifetime. You join the hundreds of people who commented today on the post that they've been at Lifetime for years and years and years. I want us all to be in that game. So I don't wish you luck in that. I wish you focus. So good focus to you, and we'll see you soon. Thank you very much. Have a good night.